Today I'm going to meet a young member of parliament, Phetchompoo Kijburana, an overseas educated young politician. And today's her day off, and I'm going to spend a day with her. Whatever she's going to do on her day off, I'm going to do with her. Now I'm on the way to pick her up. Okay, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so today is your day off, yeah?
Yes, day off.
Okay, so what do you normally do on the day off then?
Varies, depends on the day. Sometimes I've got errands to run, do normal housework like laundry, go out, meet up with my mom, my brother, my family, some friends. Because I study in Singapore and the UK.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I have like all these international friends coming to Bangkok to visit. It's kind of my tour guide duty to take them around. Yeah.
Why do you like reading?
My mom always read to me when I was younger. So growing up, when I was before I could even speak, she'd read me bedtime story, or during the day she read me all these like Aesop tales. It's built into my routine, see. So sometimes if I'm bored, I'll tell my mom like, and which is like read. So like I'll just take a book from the bookshelf. I put it in front of my mom. Then she knows and then she put me on her laps and then we'll start reading. So it's something that's built into my routine. So growing up, I've always loved reading novels, and my mom encouraged it because it really builds your imagination. Yeah. So you kind of lose that as you grow up, and then you start to get more into non-fictions and textbooks, of course. So I've got a few here that these are some of the fictions that I kind of revisited over the years. There's like Dan Brown, which the author of the famous Da Vinci Code. I picked this one because I love his writing style. It's very descriptive. It's very entertaining. So it's a book that I always pick up from time to time. Probably back during the time I was in Singapore. This is something that English novels deal with so well. So the concept is more of like an ethical dilemmas. So, a set of parents, they have a daughter and she has an illness. So the only way to save her is to decide to use the stem cells of then their other daughter to save the life of the older one. So this whole book was dealing with whether it is right morally to save someone at the expense of the other. So very interesting book.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's called The Vampire Academy. So okay, I know every girl growing up will have a phase when they're into the supernatural, young adult vampire theme.
So what about that one?
A book that's quite popular, I think it came out last year by the same author that wrote the history of humankind, the Homo sapiens. But this one, because it explores the concept in the 21st century, it's got, it's very relevant now. And then there's actually a chapter I was hoping to get into, is about democracy. That's so heavily debated now. Globalizations, instead of advancing, you see a comeback of isolationist policies. You see people trying to take back, their own sovereignty. So like in the UK, you have Brexit. People don't want to be a part of like a global sharing world anymore. In America, you've seen President Trump with his America First. And then you started to wonder democracy and its idea of, sharing the knowledge, enlightenment, all these things, tolerance. Is that what the world is heading to?
You told me that you like traveling as well.
So when I was based in the UK, I love traveling within the UK itself. But traveling-wise, if you're not based in Europe, if you're based in Asia, I think there's a few places you can go as well. I was in Taiwan, Taipei, last year with my family, and that's like a heaven for foodies. I think what's more important when you travel is that you get to learn about people and their culture. Exactly. And that's really interesting because sometimes the way you see the world is limited to your experiences. As you grow up, as you work. But then when you travel, you get to talk, interact with people from different culture. You know, when you travel and then you exchange ideas and experiences, and you realize maybe sometimes we have the same problems, but when we go abroad, we only see the good sides of it. That we sometimes will compare Thailand to other countries in the world, forgetting that the context is different and the environment is different, the history is different. So, you know, there's so much we can learn from each other, I think.
Okay, now we are at the open market that you normally come. Why do you like coming to the open market like this rather than a shopping center?
Right, so this place is pretty close to my house, and you are able to get really cheap, delicious food from here. I think all the stores brought in all the products from different regions in Thailand. You get the fresh fruits and different dishes, curry, and you have the food court section that reminds me a bit of the hawker center atmosphere that you do get in Singapore, where I study. So, you know, it's open air, it's you get a variety of food. It's cheap, it's delicious, so I think what's not to like. Yeah.
Okay, after spending half day with you, just wondering, why did you decide to be a politician?
Right, so this is the question I get a lot because of my age as well. Some people question why politics when, you know, I could have gone into a lot of various different fields. I always seen how, you know, politics in Thailand, it's a bit of a cycle. You know, we have an elected government, and then, you know, they're corrupt, they've done something that's different from the manifesto, what they promised the people, and then there's protests on the street, and then sometimes violence ensue, and then you have the military come in, there's a coup d'etat, and then, you know, after a certain period, you go back to elections, have an elected government, and then the vicious cycle continues. You know, this generation don't jump in themselves and change that, then nothing is going to happen. So if we keep waiting for a change to happen, but we ourselves are not willing to change, then, you know, nothing is going to improve.
How do you deal with the negative comments or negative feedback or something like that?
So I think dealing with that, first of all, you have to accept that being a politician, as with other professions, have its own risk, have its own sacrifices that you have to make. It's just that being a young person and a woman, sometimes you need to deal with societal prejudices that exist at the time. So for example, like if I, you know, give a speech, sometimes people don't criticize the content of, you know, what I'm talking about, my policies that I'm presenting, but they do criticize the way I do my hair, my makeup, whether I wear too much of it. So all these things come into play. So I think just for myself, I need to understand that this is a fact of life, this is what happened when you're in the public eye, and then adjusting your emotions accordingly, learning to understand it and not take it to heart. If it's constructive criticism, then you take it, improve yourself. But if, you know, it's not based within reason, then you don't have a reaction to it. You just take it as it comes.
So have your life changed in many ways at all?
You have to at least prove that you are capable of doing the same job that they are doing right now. Sometimes politicians should show the human side at their age. For example, maybe the way I dress should be younger. When, for example, I'm not going to parliament meetings, while other people perceive younger politicians as you have to dress appropriately because you have to learn social etiquette, you need to adapt yourself to certain situations. You know, when it's so easy talking about policies when you're campaigning. It's like, what I think is this, it's like going for a job interview. During campaigning, you can make all these promises, I am capable, I can do this, I can do that. But governance, actually doing the job is a lot more difficult. You know, that's why, you know, you need to decentralize. You need people like civil servants to be cooperative, to come together and really work towards that goal. It takes time, democracy takes time.
Then do your family support you to be a politician?
Because my family, they do see that, while it's risky, you might be exposing yourself to a lot of criticism from people. But I do think that if you live in a society, how can you yourself be happy alone while everyone else around you is suffering? And if you only serve themselves, then what about your family? What about your friends? What about other people in society? So I want to be useful not only to myself, but people around me and society as a whole.
I think that there are so many people in society still think that young politicians like you don't have experience, don't have ability. What would you like to tell them?
So me, myself, as a young person, I do have the academic knowledge. I do have some skills I learned over volunteering over the course of my studies that are transferable now. So some people have to learn on the job. It's not that, when someone joins politics, they know what to do straight away. Even the top job, the first world leader, the President of the United States, it's been said that nothing prepares you for the White House. And I think the same can be said about politics. Being a member of parliament, you learn from the people, you listen to what the people want, and I think that's the most important thing.
As we have already spent literally one day together, and I would like you to ask the last silly but simple question to you, but I would like you to answer not as a member of parliament or a politician, but you. What is the meaning of life?
Me personally, I think, us as humans, as social animals, we should not care just about ourselves, but also society. People around you appreciate your environment, appreciate where you come from. So I am reminded that we're not alone in this world, and it's not enough to just serve yourself, but should serve your environment, your society as well. So that's what I think.